JP Morosi, we have work to do. I was at Yankee camp last week before the news of Gerrit Cole. Giancarlo wasn't back in camp yet, dealing with elbow injuries. Where are the Yankees in terms of adding, knowing what they know now? What's the plan for New York?
Lauren, good morning. Yes, we've talked a lot on the show the last week about Sandy Alcantara, who, by the way, starts for the Marlins today at 1 p.m., so lots of eyes on Sandy as he makes that start. From gathering some information in the last 24 hours, it does not sound like to me, Lauren, that Alcantara is a terribly likely result for the Yankees at this stage in terms of potentially adding talent from the outside. But I agree with what Cliff said earlier. It's not just Cole. It's also the heel injury. So you're now down 2 starting pitchers this early on, and you do get the sense that they would like to add some depth from the outside, but at what cost? Because the Yankees at the moment, they're not exactly negotiating from a position of strength. So I would say that apart from Alcantara, the more likely result, if they go there, would be to add one of the free agents right now. As you mentioned, Kyle Gibson is out there in the A block. I think he's a very good name to keep in mind. Or one of the other trade options that you discussed as well. And one thing I'll point out, and I'm just making this point, is that when you think about the St. Louis Cardinals and the fit on Eric Fedde, don't be surprised if Arenado's name comes up there too, because the Yankees, with the situation with DJ LeMahieu, they have an issue at third base too. So still a lot of options for the Yankees to consider. And again, I do not at all think that Alcantara is a close or imminent or likely addition for the Yankees at this stage. Lauren, to make one big picture point about just how much has changed for the Yankees since the World Series. You go back to Game 1, and long before the Freddie Freeman heroics that we remember so well, they had a 2-1 lead after 6 innings. And that 2-1 lead occurred because of a Giancarlo Stanton home run with Juan Soto on base and 6 innings pitched by Gerrit Cole. I just mentioned Stanton, Soto, and Cole, none of whom are going to be on the opening day roster based on the way things are looking right now. So it's a very dramatic change for the Yankees in an incredibly short amount of time.
Our Yankee fans in the building not liking what you're saying. I spoke with Brian Cashman last week. He says we're always looking to improve, so we will see. Praying for the best. Spencer Strider returning from that elbow injury. Is game action close? Where are we at?
Yes, Lauren, this is actually really encouraging news for the Atlanta Braves. It may not be this week, but there are some situations in which Strider could make some Grapefruit League appearances, or at least one Grapefruit League appearance before camp breaks in just a couple of short weeks. And Bowman at MLB.com that I'd recommend everybody to read because it's got a lot of really important information. He had a live simulated session, if you will, last week with Acuna and Albi, so he's facing some pretty good major league hitters as he's getting back into form. And the overall projection, as Mark has reported, is that Strider could be back in the Braves rotation before the end of April, which is really good news. The Braves had so many injuries last year, Strider being at or near the top of the list. And this is a really encouraging way for them to begin the season. Remember, with Strider, it was not the full Tommy John, it was the internal brace procedure, which is colloquially called the express version of Tommy John. So you're back a little bit earlier. And that right now is exactly where things are trending. So everything that Spencer has said, very positive. And based on Mark's reporting, we could see him back in the Braves rotation, the major league rotation, before the end of April.
Let's go. I picked him last season for Cy Young before the injury, hoping for health always. It is shoulder inflammation for George Kirby. He'll start the season on the IL. Is that the truth? Or is it precautionary? What do we know?
So Justin Hollander, their GM, has said, Lauren, that indeed Kirby will start the year on the injured list because of shoulder inflammation. There was some imaging done. The important note from Justin right now is that Justin Hollander said there is no structural damage that has been identified. So that's a very good and reassuring bit of news for the Seattle Mariners, but they're going to be very, very careful and cautious. George Kirby is one of the most competitive pitchers in the game, and so this is not something that was done lightly, and I'm sure George wanted to stay on the mound, but he had reported to the team that he just wasn't feeling as good afterward and recovering as well. So backing off with the shoulder. They do have Emerson Hancock, who is a very highly regarded pitcher who is likely to fill in. And just look at that consistency, Lauren, year after year. Really, really dependable, reliable arm for the Seattle Mariners. And this really affirms what, frankly, a lot of people were saying around the game, which is good, young, healthy rotations do not stay that way forever. And you need to do the most that you can to maximize it when you've got it. And so there is that sense that perhaps there was a bit of a missed opportunity for them in 23 and in 24 as well, but can't go back and change that now. The Mariners have to make the best they can with 2025, and unfortunately, Kirby not in the rotation as the regular season begins.
Harold has been talking about adding offense for a long time this offseason on the show. How about the positives? Mike Trout healthy and ready to go. That certainly, JP, falls under that category. I have this lasting image of the WBC and him carrying the flag. He's talked about perhaps playing again in the World Baseball Classic. Will he run it back? What do you think?
Well, that is his goal, Lauren. And right now, we'll go on this with two parts. Number one, he's playing well this spring, and he's healthy. And we should remember to point that out, that he has been one of the best players we've ever seen in our lives. And the goal for him is to be back and have a full, healthy year. And on that score, all things are really positive. And what he told Barry Bloom recently was that he wants to play again in the World Baseball Classic. He wants to have the opportunity, and certainly we'll see again if USA Baseball ends up making the request. But these are all really good things to hear if you're an Angels fan, based on the swings that you're seeing right there, and also if you're a fan of USA Baseball, because he was really important to USA Baseball throughout the course of that WBC run. We've heard D-Row talk about how important he was to the clubhouse and on the field as well, and what a leader he was alongside
I
Mookie
used to
Betts
be
and
one
Adam
of
Wainwright.
those other guys, Matty.
There you go, D-Row. There you go. So some tough calls, as we've talked about before. I do not envy the decisions that Team USA is going to have to make this year, whether it's at shortstop with Henderson versus Witt. Good luck making a choice there, or the outfield. But it is really good to hear that Mike Trout wants to be on Team USA again, because his presence in 2023 helped to elevate the overall profile of the event right there alongside Shohei Ohtani.
I forgot to tell you, I went to Polk County. That's all you talk about, JP.
Beautiful Polk County. Some great Italian restaurants there. The home of the Lakeland Flying Tigers during the season, and the amazing home of the Detroit Tigers, which, by the way, Lauren,
Tell me.
built on the former site of a World War II era airstrip there. There was an old Air Force place that had the old barracks. Originally, when the Tigers moved there, the minor league dorms were the old military barracks. That is a